Ever get that feeling, like something's going on right under our noses, but we never actually think about it?
Oh, totally. It's like all the pipes and wires that bring water to your house, or the electricity that powers, your lights. We just expect it to work until boom, something breaks.
Exactly. And that's kind of what we're diving into today. Radio frequency regulation in Vietnam. It's like the invisible infrastructure behind our phone calls, Wi-Fi, even that wireless mic your favorite singer uses on stage.
And you've given us a gold mine of info to work with. Legal documents, agency FAQs, training materials. Wow.
It's a lot, right? But fascinating stuff. So before we geek out too much, and trust me, can you give us the radio frequency 101? Like, why even bother with regulations? It's not like there are traffic jams in the airways.
Ah, see, that's where it gets interesting. The thing is, the electromagnetic spectrum, where all those radio waves hang out, it's like prime real estate, a finite resource, just like land or water. Everyone wants a piece.
Okay, I'm starting to see where this is going.
Too many people vying for the same space. It's a recipe for disaster. Imagine dropped calls, jumbled radio signals, maybe even your car refusing to unlock because its key fob is on the fritz.
Okay, yeah, now you're just being mean. I get it. We need someone to keep things organized.
Right. And in Vietnam, that's where the Ministry of Information and Communications, or MIC, comes in. They're like the conductors of this invisible orchestra, making sure everyone's playing in tune.
And Kalhait Tritek Kim Sudsakin mentions a whole hierarchy of agencies, right? What's one of the biggest challenges for the MIC in all this?
Well, there's the whole global aspect. They've got to make sure Vietnam's on the same page as everyone else. We're talking about the International Telecommunication Union, the ITU, which QI.PDF talks about. It's like the UN for radio waves, ensuring countries aren't accidentally jamming each other's signals.
So, international cooperation to avoid cosmic static. Got it. But zooming back in on Vietnam, who are the major players under the MIC?
Well, you've got the General Department of Market Management. And, get this, customs.
Wait, customs? Like the airport people?
Yep, them. You'd think they just deal with luggage, but 1 Teen 2022 the NSCP.PDF shows they can actually fine companies for breaking telecom and IT rules too.
Wow, those guys have more power than I thought. Which makes me wonder, what are these rules everyone's so worried about breaking?
Think of it like this. Imagine a city, right? Bustling, crowded. You need rules to keep things running smoothly. Traffic flow, noise levels, you name it. Radio frequencies, same deal. You need rules to make sure signals are clear, devices are legal, and no one's abusing the system.
Okay, so spill it. What kind of rules are we talking about? Give me an example that affects us regular folks every day.
All right, let's talk SIM cards. Remember those documents on OB 2020 NTP.PDF and Thung 2 So 08 2021 TTB.PDF. Buried in there are strict rules about SIM card registration, all about cutting down on fraud.
So that spam text I got this morning, Vietnam's got my back.
Exactly. Those documents lay out some hefty fines for companies spamming people. So next time you hit block, remember there are regulations on your side.
Good to know I've got backup in the fight against spam. But this all sounds very big picture corporate stuff. What about everyday devices?
Even those have to play by the rules. Check this out. Infographic TT1 VSeat microcongday.pdf. It's all about wireless microphones. Even something that simple has to follow frequency rules. And the penalties for messing up, let's just say you don't want to be the sound guy when a mic goes rogue at a concert.
Okay, point taken. Rules are one thing, but what happens when they're broken? Does the MIC send out the radio police?
Radio police. Not quite, but there are definitely consequences. See, qtensvideo.pdf talks about all the ways things can go wrong. Interference, for example.
Ah, so that's what they call it.
Right. It can really mess with your signals. There's blocking, where a strong signal drowns out a weaker one, like trying to have a conversation next to a loudspeaker.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Exactly. Or there's co-channel interference, like two people on the same phone line at once.
Yeah.
Just gibberish.
So how do they figure out what's causing the problem? Is it always like some evil genius with a rogue transmitter?
Honestly.
Yeah.
It could be anything. Sometimes it's intentional, but often it's a total accident. That same document actually mentions a case with a faulty car key fob causing all sorts of interference. Took them ages to figure it out.
Talk about a tech headache. So it's not always about catching the bad guys. It's about keeping everything running smoothly.
100%. It takes constant work behind the scenes. Document72.pdf and QA2 do be Kakwai Sui Doi Thing 4.2023 V2.pdf. They both talk about the maintenance, the reports, everything that goes into it. It's like a well-oiled machine, you know?
Yeah. Until something goes wrong and we're like, wait, what's a radio wave? But you mentioned something earlier. You said weather can impact all of this. That sounds wild.
Sounds crazy, but it's true. Kapunsevil Dent PDF mentions this thing called the tropospheric duct. Basically, certain weather, like heat, humidity, it can make radio signals travel way farther than usual.
Wait, so you're saying I could pick up a radio station from, like, a different country because of a humid day?
You got it.
Yeah.
It's just physics, but it shows how complex this all is. Even with rules, with oversight, there are always curveballs. And speaking of curveballs,
You're going to say AI, aren't you?
you know me too well. We talk about SIM card registration, right? Fighting fraud. Well, AI is playing a bigger and bigger role there. Algorithms sifting through mountains of data, spotting suspicious patterns.
It's impressive, but also a little creepy. All that data.
Right. But think about it. Every bit of data, every song you stream, every video call, it all relies on radio frequencies. And as AI starts creating its own content, music, art, you name it, it all uses the same system.
Which brings us back to those copyright documents. VCL Bao Caus Twin de Agai Vac Quen So Hutri 2.docx. It's wild to think about AI creating things that need copyright protection in the first place.
It's a whole new world, and the legal system is scrambling to catch up. There's actually a case in Beijing, a court case, where an AI-generated image was given copyright protection, officially.
Whoa, seriously. So this isn't some far-off thing. It's happening now.
Exactly. And it's only going to get more complicated.
Yeah.
As AI gets better, faster,
Yeah.
how do you regulate something that can create a million things at once? How do you even define authorship when it comes to AI?
It's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. Vietnam has rules about frequencies, about interference. But what about an AI that could need, like, 1,000 times the bandwidth?
Right. And that's not even considering the potential for misuse. What if someone uses AI to make harmful content and it just explodes across the internet?
It's like the tech is outrunning our ability to control it.
In a lot of ways, it is. And this isn't just a Vietnam thing. It's everywhere. Countries are trying to figure out how to adapt. Radio frequency management, just one piece of a much bigger puzzle.
So we've gone from dropped calls to AI artists, all thanks to the magic of radio waves. It's a lot more mind-blowing than I ever gave it credit for. But where do we go from here? What happens next?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, nobody has all the answers. But at least we're starting to ask the right questions. Vietnam, just like a lot of countries, they're walking a tightrope, trying to balance progress, innovation, with, well, making sure it doesn't all blow up in our face.
It's like trying to change a tire on a moving car.
Exactly. And they're having to think about things that, like, 5 years ago would have sounded like a sci-fi plot.
Right.
Like, how do we make sure everyone has access to these frequencies as AI starts needing more and more bandwidth? It's like the new digital land grab. Are we going to end up with a handful of tech giants owning the entire spectrum?
Okay, that's a little unsettling. It's easy to forget that all this amazing tech relies on something as basic as radio waves, something that ultimately has to be shared.
Right. And it's not just about, like, putting up guardrails to stop AI from going off the rails. There's the potential for good, too.
Yeah.
Right? Imagine AI-powered networks that can help with disaster relief or bring education and healthcare to remote places. That's all reliant on radio frequencies.
So it's less about hitting the brakes, more about steering in the right direction.
Exactly. Having the foresight to see the challenges coming, the flexibility to adapt, and maybe most importantly, the willingness to have the tough conversations about how we want this tech to shape our world. And that's where I think looking at what Vietnam's doing is so interesting. They're trying to find that balance, acknowledging both the good and the, let's say, the interesting aspects of these new technologies.
It's been an incredible journey, really. We've gone deep into this hidden world of radio frequency regulations, talked about AI, even learned how the weather can mess with our signals. So, as we wrap up, what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from all of this?
That even though we can't see them, radio waves are shaping our lives every single day. And as we move further into this digital age, understanding how this invisible world works, it's only going to get more important. So next time you're streaming a movie or hopping on a video call, heck, even deleting a spam text, take a second to appreciate those frequencies, quietly working their magic.
And who knows? Maybe someone listening right now will be inspired to become the next radio wave hero, shaping the future of how we connect. Thanks for joining us on this electrifying adventure, and until next time, keep those frequencies humming.